Hello. So I wanted to make a video about kind of like what the one of the keys to success in this game is, right? So really, like when I say key to success, really is a lot of it is just staying focused, right? Right. For a lot of people, like especially when you're new, you don't. Where a lot of new players tend to have a tendency to spread out their resources a lot to a lot of different heroes and pets and stuff, and that's not very good idea. Maybe it's okay early on, like you can get a few heroes to blue or maybe even violet or whatever, but after you get to past violet, it's the investment gets pretty steep really quickly, and you really gotta be focused, right, on like a main team, right? And a lot of times, really, early on, honestly, it's kind of better just to focus on like one hero at a time, one pet at a time, right? And a lot of times, I do recommend for a lot of people, like, Aurora, like in low, like, it's just like if you put investment into Aurora, like Ray said, she's the best tank in the game, like, and it just like, if you had to focus on just one hero early on, I would almost like, that's what I picked. I did Aurora when I was leveling up, right? And then Celeste, kind of like my main two. Like there was a long while where Aurora and Celeste were like almost like said they were both red one, and like all my other heroes were like below 50k power, right? Because I just focused on them, like, right. So if you were like a new player and you just wanted to focus on Aurora, like you would just focus on her dodge, right? And then you focus on one pet. It would be Kane in this case, but you could do it on another hero. But usually, just focusing on your main tank early on, like, is probably the best way to go. Just like focus on getting your main tank as strong as you can, right? Like, raise the armor. Like if you're working on a different tank, raise their armor as much as you can. Like in Aurora, you want to raise her dodge as much as you can, right? And it's just really just focus on, right, just that armor or that dodge, right, and just get them as strong as you can when you're doing your item farming. Focus on items they need for that hero, etc. And folk, like when you're spending your runes, right, focus on their glyphs. When you're doing your artifacts, focus on that hero's artifacts, right? And it just like try to focus on that hero, right, until like I said, till you kind of got like I said, till you can get that one pretty much as strong as you can without, right, like I said, and only to like invest like kind of your healer, your second, like Celeste could be good DPS and a healer, right? In low levels, like Aurora and Celeste. I mean, so Aurora can almost like just destroy teams by herself if she's strong enough, like if your dodge is high enough, right? Especially if you get Kane like Violet or something, like you could probably do a lot of damage just Aurora and just have Celeste as healing, right? And like what are your like Sebastian's probably the best support, but you can run Sebastian without a lot of investment early on, right? You can keep him with just enough, just keep this skill maxed, right? And just have enough like health to survive. Have your DPSs that you're filling out your team with just strong enough to survive a couple of hits so they can use their ults at least once, right? And that's just kind of right, and just generally, as long as you have a strong tank up front to kind of mitigate for them, to put buff like armor or dodge buffs up, right, you can get a lot more mileage out of less resources, like I said, so just kind of focusing on a tank, right, and like I said, and focus on like one pet early on generally, right, if you're right working Aurora, Kane's worth doing investment for your first pet, right? Because he's actually a pretty good defensive pet. But if you're not doing Aurora, right, Axel is probably the one you want to go with, or maybe Oliver. Though Oliver's kind of meh on defense. Like Axel's the best overall defensive pet, right? For most players, I would say Axel, right? I mean, a lot of tanks can't use Axel. But Aurora can, but that's not the pet you use on her much. But your healers can, right? And usually, like Celeste, much like probably like Aurora and Celeste are kind of like the second best hero, tied for like compete for the second best hero slot. Like Sebastian's best, but Aurora and Celeste are both really good. And right, so Axel on Celeste, if you're using a different tank than Aurora, right, and Axel could be your defensive pet. But usually for most players, I would recommend one of these two pets as your first one. I try to focus on that one. Try to get that pet, whichever one you're doing main. Try to get to Violet as soon as you can, right, and then you can start trying to get some of these other pets to Violet after that to kind of get some of these abilities going, but you just generally want to keep focusing on your main pets as much as you can, right? That's just super important. Like, just having a strong Kane is better than having a bunch of, underdeveloped pets. And like I said, and that's just kind of how this game is. Like, it's better to, like, kind of like how I said, it's good to have one strong team instead of two meta ones. A lot of times it's good to have one strong hero instead of a bunch of, like, mediocre ones. Like, a strong tank like Aurora, who can also do a lot of DPS, can like single-handedly win fights. If she's like your strongest hero, like, that you could definitely do a lot worse. So just stay focused. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you for watching.